Jimerson here with an Ontraport contact import overview. For a lot of Ontraport users, importing contacts is typically only done when first moving from one CRM to Ontraport, but I've found some creative uses for it beyond that. In this video, I will cover the basics of contact importing, including contact record field editing and what the various contact import settings mean. This should cover enough ground for most of you to feel confident with importing your own lists. In this tutorial, I'm using a fake contact list generated by Makaroo.com. The CVS file I'll be importing has 6 columns with headers named ID, first name, last name, email, gender, IP address, and tag. Depending on what CRM you exported your contact list data from, you'll have different columns to import. This tutorial will help you figure out how to pair your columns with Ontraport fields and show you how to create new contact record fields if one is not available by default for your data. If this sounds confusing, just stick around. It's really simple when you see it. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you one of the creative uses I found for the contact import tool beyond just bringing over data from an old CRM. Alright, let's get started. First, we're going to navigate to the contact record field editor by hovering over contacts and selecting settings. Next, we'll just click Field Editor. We're doing this first to make sure our Ontraport contact records have all the required fields that we wish to import. I'm also going to open up my contact list in Excel to compare. Looking at my contact list in Excel, I can see that I have 7 columns of data: ID, first name, last name, email, gender, IP address, and tag. When we look at the Ontraport field editor, we can determine that there aren't any fields available for ID, gender, or IP address. And for this example, we have determined that we don't want to import IP addresses anyways. We also don't need to worry about tags just yet. Ontraport doesn't use unique ID numbers because it uses email addresses as the unique ID instead, so we need to create a unique ID field if we want to preserve this data. In the Contact Fields editor, we'll click one of the Add Field buttons. In the field name, we'll just type ID and leave the field type as text. We could have also chosen the numeric field type for this, since our IDs are just numbers, but since we aren't ever going to run math equations on these IDs, we're going to keep them as text. As a side note, if you think you may have number fields that you might want to run equations on in the future, do select the numeric field type. Because IDs are meant to be unique, we will check the unique box. If we click the field type drop-down menu, we can see that there are many field type options. This is useful, for example, if our old CRM allowed for multiple email addresses, we can create a second email address field and in the field type select email. The rest are very self-explanatory, except the last one, which I'll go into in a different video. We aren't going to make this field required, and I've never had to use this option, but you may find use for it. I'm going to repeat this process to create a new field for gender. And since we don't want to import the IP address, we won't create a new field for that. Once we've got all of our new fields added, we'll click Save near the top right of the window. It should take us back to our settings list, where we will click the Import Contacts selection. Here we'll either drag and drop the contact list or click Browse Computer and select our contact list. I'm just going to drag and drop it. You most likely have a header row, which is just the column's title. If that's the case, we'll select Do Not Import Header Row checkbox. This just makes it so that Ontraport doesn't try to create a contact record of header titles. We'll click Next after verifying that our sample looks correct. At the top of step 3, there are duplicate contact import settings. If contacts already exist, this is how Ontraport will handle them. Merging and underwriting means that any existing data in contact record fields will not be written over if the contact is a duplicate, but new data will be added. Overwriting just means that if any data already exists in a contact record, it'll replace it with the data from the contact list we are importing. I don't recommend using Create New Entry unless it's either your very first import or you really know what you're doing, because multiple duplicate contact records is not a fun thing to deal with. There is a tool in Ontraport for merging contact records, but it's better to avoid this to begin with, as having duplicate contact records to begin with has the potential to create all sorts of other problems I've found out from experience. For merge settings, we get to decide what makes a contact record considered a duplicate. I use the default email address because for me it doesn't get much more unique than a contact's email address. Importing with bulk mail set to opt-out means that you will not be able to email these contacts with a broadcast email unless they fill out a form again. So it's got to be up to them. I actually did use this a few times to import some do not mail lists. It's always better to be safe, especially if we don't want our email deliverability to suffer. Finally, we need to check all the usage agreement boxes. I recommend you really read and understand these. Most of us hate spammers, and I'm sure that includes people who actually are spammers. Luckily, Ontraport has no tolerance for it and does a great job keeping email deliverability as one of the best in the industry. Long story short, we make sure that the contacts we plan to email are contacts that actually want to be emailed. So we'll click Next again, and on step 4 we get to match our contact list import columns with the fields that exist in Ontraport contact records, some of which we've just created. To save time, if we plan on doing additional contact imports using the same data types, we'll go ahead and check the Remember My Selections box. So now we'll just go down the rows and match up the fields, starting with ID, then first name, last name, email, and gender. IP addresses we are going to leave blank since we don't want to import that data. And for tag, we're going to select contact tags. This will place these comma-separated tags into the contacts tag record. Comma-separated if you have multiple tags in a column. When we're happy that all the rows matched, we'll click Next for the final step, which is rules. Rules are great if we want to add additional information or apply actions to contacts while we're importing them. For example, if we want to add all the contacts you're importing to a campaign that we've already set up. If we don't need any rules, the final step is to just click Next and our contacts will be uploaded. And depending on how many contacts we're uploading, this could take, a few minutes, anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes I've seen, but probably less. So pretty simple, yeah? One creative use I've got for the import tool is adding tags or changing fields in the contact record of already existing contacts. This can all be done from the contact list page, of course, but if I had just taken a list of contacts and manipulated the data in a third-party software, such as Excel, I may want to add that data to just this new contact list in Ontraport. And so importing and adding new or overwriting data, or adding tags and changing fields during the 5th step of the import process is a great way to go about doing this. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope I've helped. Comment below if you have any questions on importing contacts or even a suggestion for a future video, or just shoot an email over to jimerson@ontrapal.com. And if you are considering going with Ontraport and I've made it a little easier for you, please click my affiliate link below and I'll promise to continue creating great Ontraport tutorial videos. Follow my Facebook or Twitter page if you'd like to see when new videos get posted. Thanks again.